Let's read another scary story that was DM'd to us. A few years ago, we lived in South Africa. We moved into a new house and everything felt normal for a few months. But after a few months, weird stuff started going on. Like, our stuff would start going missing. We didn't think much of it at all. I started getting sick a lot and I would be tired a lot and throwing up a lot. We had load shedding and my sister's friend said she wanted to come over. My parents were outside busy with food and we went in to get changed, and while we were getting ready, we heard something in the closet. We didn't really think much of it, but after that, a lot of weird stuff started happening, like when my brother's friend came over for a sleepover. Me and my sister were watching a movie and we heard screaming coming from the kitchen. We tried opening the door, but it didn't want to open. A few minutes later, we finally got it to open and my brother and his friend were crying with a small mark around their necks. But everyone thought we were making this up. Until things got really bad. Me and my brother shared a small room and my older sister had her own room. She came to sleep in my bed every night because she said she felt unsafe whenever she would wake up in the middle of the night. When we would wake up in the middle of the night, it felt like someone was staring at us, and our Bible would just close on its own. We had it open on our page that we felt safe with. After we thought things got better and invited one of my friends over, we watched a movie until we fell asleep. At 3 a.m., she started yelling and crying that she wanted to go home. It looked like she was really scared. My mom would feel someone get in her bed while no one was at home except her. One night, me and my sister decided that we were going to sleep in her room, thinking maybe it would be okay in there. Above her bed, she had some lights, and while I was trying to sleep, I heard someone breathing in my ear, and I started screaming. My grandma came in and said it's nothing, but after she went away, it happened again, and I slowly woke my sister up, but I told her to move to the other side of the bed. But when she moved, every light in the room started flickering, and suddenly she was against the wall and screamed. I went under the covers crying and screaming. My dad came running in, and while screaming lines from the Bible, my dad and I closed the door, and as we walked back to my parents' room, we heard scratching coming from my sister's room. And my sister told my dad that she saw what looked like a woman in a wedding dress, and there was blood on her gown, and her teeth were showing, and there was blood dripping everywhere. And the thing is, we didn't even watch horror movies back then, so my parents knew we were telling the truth. After that, the door stayed closed, and every time we would walk past the door, it felt like someone was looking at us. My sister went to stay with my grandma and grandpa, and after that, we moved away from the house. We went back after 1 year and talked to the family who was living there, and they had a baby, and the woman said her baby would have marks all over her body, and her other daughter was living in my sister's old room, and she said that her daughter didn't even want to go in there. Whatever was in that house, I hope I never experience again. It is freaking creepy, and I think that house just needs to be torn down, probably. Let's read some scary Reddit stories about being home alone. A couple years back, I woke up at 3 a.m. to see someone walk past my bedroom door. I called out in my just woken up, not thinking haze, thinking maybe my boyfriend had come over while I was sleeping, but got no response, so knew it wasn't him. Got out of bed, stupidly forgetting to take my phone or any kind of defensive item with me, and went into the front room where the light was on to be met with a random guy staring at one of the walls. I asked who he was and got no answer. At this point, I'd actually woken up enough to realize I could really be in trouble, so I ran back to the bedroom, grabbed my phone, and ran outside on the phone to the police, who showed up within a few minutes. Turns out the guy was mentally ill, and to this day, myself nor the police know how he got in. I moved into our house a month before my husband did, and I was painting our guest room with the windows wide open. I was busy painting, listening to music, when I realized it had gotten dark outside. I heard the leaves crunching outside, but didn't think anything of it because we have a lot of neighbors who walk their dogs. When I went to close the windows, I saw a man standing in my backyard under the tree, maybe 5 feet from our back door, staring up at me. I fell to the floor and realized the back glass door was probably open and nothing but the screen, which he could have easily just walked into my house. Crawled to my phone and called my husband, who then called 911 while rushing home to me. We have a 6-foot-tall fence around our yard. This person hopped it to watch me. I couldn't sleep right at night for months. I was babysitting a kid who had a video monitor and was told that she wouldn't wake up while the parents were out, and if she did, to call them right away. I was watching TV with the monitor set off to the side to keep an eye on her, and right around 11, the camera's view shifted a few inches. It then began to slightly jiggle like someone was messing with it. I was squinting at it, trying to decide what I was actually seeing, and I kid you not, the whole screen burst to static for a few seconds, and the kid started wailing. She stood up and was screaming in her crib just like one of those kids from The Sims. When she didn't fall back asleep after a few minutes, I called Mom and she said, "Okay, we're on our way home anyway. We think she has nightmares. Sometimes it's fine. Never again." Yeah, I would not be babysitting that kid anymore. No. I was about 21 or 22 and living by myself at the time, and I left my window open on a pleasant night. It was low enough to the ground that you could get in if you really tried. Bitch. But the screen wasn't easy to take off, and I lived in a fairly safe neighborhood, so I didn't even think twice about it. Woke up in the middle of the night because I smelled smoke, and I reached out to turn on my lamp, and my hand hit what was very obviously a person! My brain fully woke up at that point, and I realized there was a shirtless man in my bedroom smoking a cigarette and staring at me. I remember yelling for him to get out, and I must have spooked him just as badly as he spooked me because he leapt out of my window and took off. I slammed it shut and moved a bookcase in front of it, and when I went out the next morning in the daylight, I found the screen sitting against the house. Didn't sleep the rest of the night, and I haven't slept with a window more than cracked ever since. I absolutely refuse to live on the ground floor of a building. I don't know if he was planning to rob me or grape me or both, but it was absolutely terrifying and makes me wonder how many times it happened and I didn't wake up. Yeah, I don't care how safe of a neighborhood you think you live in. Do not sleep with your frickin' windows open, okay? No. I was home from university for the summer and didn't have a job, so was home alone whilst everyone else was at work. I live in a small village on a quiet street, so completely normal to have all the windows and doors open during the day. Later on in the afternoon, I got a call from my dad. He said, "I'm around the corner but struggling to get into the street. I'll explain when I'm home, but lock all the doors, close the windows, and go upstairs?" This was obviously strange. We don't live in a bad area, and my dad's sense of humor isn't that mean, but the tone in his voice made me do it without hesitation. Everything closed and locked, and upstairs I go. A few minutes later, I get a second call from my dad. He said, "Some police are going to be going through the side gate into the back garden to check the shed. I'll be home soon." Again, I was terrified, but knew just to ask later. Stayed upstairs, but did see armed police checking the back garden. When my dad finally got home, I obviously asked what had happened. Turns out some 16-year-old kid on our street had taken some legal highs, stabbed a neighbor, then did a runner. Absolutely terrifying, but a sad part is they found him at night because he is scared of the dark and came out of hiding. Okay, so he stabbed somebody, and we're feeling bad for him because he's scared of the dark? When I was 19 in my first apartment, I had someone knock at the door. I looked through the peephole and saw this burly, heavy-set man who abruptly started screaming to let him in. He was screaming things like he was going to beat my ass and kick the door down if I didn't open it. I called the cops, and as soon as someone got on the phone, he started body slamming my door to break in. I was freaking out and crying as they quickly had 5 cops show up within 5 minutes. As soon as he heard the sirens, he quickly walked away, and they met him at the bottom of the stairs. Apparently, he was the previous renter but was extremely intoxicated. They arrested him, and thankfully he never came back. I ended up breaking my lease and moving out 3 months later. Let's read some more creepy stories that were DM'd to me. Also, episode 2 of my podcast is out, so go listen to that after you watch this video. Got my emotional support Squishmallow. We cannot forget her. This story is from a while ago before I started high school. It was during the summer. I was 14 and home alone while having really bad stomach pains. So I decided to take what I thought would be a quick nap on my couch that happened to be in front of a huge window that for some reason didn't lock sometimes. I fell asleep sitting upright with my dog in my lap. I woke up to my dog barking loudly and more than usual at the window that I thought was closed with a curtain. I looked at the window while still kind of being asleep and saw a tall man bending over to look at me through the little crack that the curtains didn't cover. And as soon as he saw me, he made a run for it. I quickly got up and looked through another window that led to the driveway and didn't see him leave. I can't tell if he hid or was really quick, but I never saw him again after that. Okay, some random man looking at you while you're sleeping is incredibly terrifying and creepy. And what a good dog for protecting you. Dogs are the best. Okay, y'all, this next story is really crazy. When I was about 1, I remember everything about my birthday. I lived on a small island called Kodiak, Alaska. I remember the table I was at, the cake I had, and even sitting outside and sitting on my dad's lap while he opened a gift of Tiffany earrings for me. They let go of balloons for me too, and I remember watching them float up to my right, just observing them. Fast forward, I don't remember much else from that day, but this next thing was really weird. I remember walking through the wall to the left of my fridge, and it was like a long tunnel. There were L-shaped bars above me to my left and right, and there was another on the left side with a camera recording me. I eventually walked through this big white light, and all of a sudden I was a toddler. Still creeps me out to this day. Okay, that story was so creepy to me. Like, what is going on? You remember your birthday from when you were 1, and then you have this weird experience of like walking through a wall? I can't help but wonder if maybe this is like maybe some childhood trauma or something like actually paranormal. Like you walked through a wall, like did you go somewhere else? And then you walked through a big white light. Really wanted to read this story because I'm curious if anybody else has had a similar experience. So please let us know if something similar has happened to you, because that story just seems so creepy to me. It's giving me like back rooms. One day I was at my grandma's house for Christmas. My grandma was always the spirits and witches type and had multiple things like that scattered in her house. I've never liked it. One night I was sleeping upstairs and I heard noises coming from downstairs. It was late and I was worried, so I went downstairs to check. The stove was on and all of the faucets were turned on, and my grandma's Ouija board was out and on the table. I checked my grandma's room and she was completely and utterly asleep. When I came back out, the little thing on the board had moved to the opposite end of the table. I was so scared I ran back upstairs in tears. The next day my family left her house to come back to mine. 1 hour after we left, my grandma passed away. What? First of all, that's so sad. I'm so sorry that your grandma passed away. That is a crazy, creepy story. I've always wanted to do a Ouija board. I've never done one, but everybody tells me not to, so probably shouldn't.
So whatever you do, don't make a deal with a water spirit. I am back with part 2 of this spooky story. So Lita made a deal with the mermaid and he got everything he wanted. Money, businesses flowing, new car, and he's able to take care of his pregnant girlfriend. However, all of that will come crashing down when Mermaid will come back to collect. Now Lita started experiencing weird things. At first it was very subtle, easy to ignore, but then later on, he really couldn't ignore them. At first it was the tapping sound coming from his bathroom, not being able to stand in sunlight for too long, and no one knew what that was about. Every time he would go to take a shower, even if he was indoors, the water would smell like the ocean. No matter where he was, he became paranoid that the spirit was around him, watching him. Well, eventually he started having nightmares. In a dream that he had, a mermaid spirit came to him. One that he didn't remember this face before, because this particular spirit to him is hideous. Looked like their skin was peeling, long, thin black hair, scary, jagged teeth. Lita probably thinking that he was gonna get eaten alive. But the spirit told him that it was time for him to come to the water and pay his debts. BK says despite everything going on beneath the surface, Lita's life on Earth was going pretty well. So he didn't want to return to the water. Every night that he would go to sleep, the more and more he refused to return, he would have these horrific dreams where he's being attacked by these creatures. And in real time, he would wake up with bruises all over his body. It got to a point where Lita was so stressed that he refuses to go to sleep. So he started using drugs to escape. And it wasn't shortly after that that he started coming across like a crazy man, running up and down the streets warning people that these mermaid spirits are after him. Things got so bad. Remember how Lita's girlfriend was pregnant? She went from having a perfectly healthy pregnancy to one day just miscarried. The baby just died. At that point, Lita's family took him in. They did a lot of prayers on him. They bathed him a lot. And it looked like Lita was like in this state of psychosis. It took him months of prayers and holy baths for him to finally get back to a point where he was making sense again. Well, his girlfriend left him and he also lost everything. And his car exploded. All in all, Lita got nothing. So BK wants y'all to know, take it from her cousin. Do not make a deal with mermaid spirits. Now, I know I took a couple of days to get back with part 2, but it's my birthday week. And today is my birthday. Hold the applause. No, seriously. You'll have to come back later to see my birthday look. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Until the next spooky story from your favorite Haitian homegirl. What is going on in South Africa? This guy sold his soul to a mermaid spirit. I am back with another spooky story. This one is yet another submission from Eastern Cape, South Africa. Yeah. The person said, I'd like to stay anonymous because even now, I still don't feel safe telling this story. I'm gonna call the person who submitted this story BK. BK says that she's from Eastern Cape near, I'm sorry if I butcher this, Mtata? Where she grew up, people always warned them about, again, sorry if I butcher this, Abantu Bomlambo. Water spirits, mermaids, the ones who grant gifts but take something in return. BK never believed any of it. But her cousin, who we'll call Lita, believed a little too much. Lita was 22 when it all started. He was desperate. No job, no money, his girlfriend was pregnant and he felt like a failure. One night, he told BK that he found a woman who can help him become rich in 7 days. BK thought it was a scam, but the way his eyes looked, it was like something had already convinced him. And he told her that she's not human, she's from the river. BK's thinking he's joking. Until she started to notice certain things. He kept waking up with wet clothes. There were wet footprints that led to his bedroom, as if someone was visiting him at night. He said that he was dreaming of this woman with blue skin, long locks floating under the water. The eyes glowed white. She kept calling his name, saying that she could give him everything. Lita told BK that he was scared, but he was tempted. One night around 3 a.m., BK woke up to him pacing outside, shirtless, mumbling something. And when she approaches him, he realized like he wasn't talking, he was actually chanting. She asked him, bro, what are you doing? And he told her, I'm being summoned. And his voice sounded weird and distorted. BK's like, he's losing it. I don't have time for this. She goes back inside. Well, the next morning, he was gone. And they searched for him for hours until someone shouted from the riverbank. When they got there, Lita was standing waist deep in the water, eyes rolled back, whispering something to the water, and the river wasn't calm. It looked like it was swirling all around him. Before they could reach him, he dropped under. Everybody is screaming. The uncle jumps in, tries to swim to him. After a minute, Lita just floats back up, unconscious but alive. When he woke up that evening, he didn't remember much of anything. But he kept saying she accepted the offer. A week later, he had money, a car, a new phone. Lita went around telling people that his newfound fortune actually came from a business opportunity, but everybody around him knew better. While enjoying his newfound wealth, well, strange things started happening. He couldn't stand sunlight anymore. He kept hearing voices coming from the bathroom. Every morning, he would wake up with his feet covered in river mud. Sometimes he would wake up in various places that he doesn't remember going to. One night, BK heard him crying from his room. She opened the door. There he was, sitting on the floor, shaking. He told her she's coming to collect, but what he didn't know was that she wanted him in return. And that's when everything got worse. Maybe don't accept anything from mermaid spirits, guys. This story is spooky as fuck. I already know I'm gonna have to make y'all come back for a part 2. But you also can't say anything because I dropped another video today. So this is two spooky stories in one day. And also, you can't be rude. It's my birthday week. So, you know, comment part 2. I'll be back very soon, sooner than you think. Somebody submitted a spooky story saying, I bought a house next to a cemetery, and now whatever lives there, I'm pretty sure wants me dead. I am back with another spooky story. We're gonna call the person who submitted this story Kenny. Now, Kenny says that he bought his house last year, and he lives in New Orleans right next to the Lafayette Cemetery, number 1. So Kenny says that literally as he's typing this story, he's shaking. He says that he's been living in that house for 9 months, and he fears that the house wants him dead. Kenny says that before he bought the house, everybody warned him. Everyone warned him about living in that neighborhood, even that house. However, Kenny says that he loves the spooky stuff and the price was unreal. The owner before literally told him not to buy this house. The owners before told him, they will know you're new here. And he said at the time he laughed. However, he's not laughing anymore. He said things started very small. So the first week, the first thing that he noticed was dirt on the floor in the hallway every morning. Like someone tracked mud inside of his house. And he says the best way he can describe the smell would be like a freshly opened grave. Well, Kenny would just clean up the dirt and move on. Week 2. He started hearing sounds of chains dragging upstairs. Yes, Kenny lives alone. He would go upstairs to check, and every single time, there would be nothing there. But when he goes back downstairs, it is as though he's hearing people dragging chains on the floor. And he says every week things just kept escalating. Week 3, that's when he started to notice that shadows were moving in the walls. No, it wasn't flickering like a candle. Full on walking, seeing shadows just travel across your wall. Kenny says that by month 2, the house itself felt like a living thing. He would wake up to wet fingerprints on his mirrors. His TV would turn on to static by itself. And he says that the peak of all of this activity would be anywhere between 3:02 and 3:07 a.m. Between 3:02 and 3:07 a.m., that is when the hauntings would start every time. He started to find clumps of black hair on his pillow that did not belong to him. Then came the rules. Now, Kenny says he doesn't know how to explain this, but at night, whispers would come from the cemetery. It sounded like a low chorus, almost like 100 people whispering his name. Kenny, Kenny, Kenny. One night, he heard an old female's voice say to him, "Blow the candle out, or we'll come inside." I don't know if you guys know, but did you know that candles actually attract spirits? Anyway, Kenny thought it was a dream. Kenny woke up thinking that maybe this was a dream. Spoiler alert, it wasn't a dream. This is one of the most horrifying hauntings that I've ever read. I had to wait till the daytime to record this video. I know you guys hate part 2s, but I need to boost my algorithm and also get to work. So go ahead and leave a comment for part 2. And I will be dropping part 2 as soon as this video reaches 10,000 views. I really can't believe this story, bro. Let me know if y'all want me to finish this. From your favorite Haitian homegirl.
Hey bestie, you see my face and you see something in my fork, so you know what time it is. This story time is going to be a very quick one. And this story actually happened in the Bronx. Now, this submitter grew up in the Bronx. Went to school there, all that. The only reason why they don't live there anymore is because they moved away for college. However, this happened to them when they were younger. So one day he's walking home from school, right? And you know it's the Bronx, so he's hanging out with his friends. You know, they kicking it. Now, this particular day, he hung out a bit later than he usually would. Because it was one of his friend's birthday at the time. His family didn't really do much for him for his birthday. So him and his friends tried to get him to celebrate. Like they went to McDonald's, all that. They ended the night off with rolling a, and they go to one of their friends' backyard. They sitting there talking, chilling, and, And as they're all chilling there, he's on cloud 9. Like to the point where you stuck. He could barely even keep up the conversation that he having with his friends. Now, the friend whose birthday it was, his grandpa had passed away like a couple months prior. So that really bummed him out. This was like his first birthday without his grandpa. And like I said before, his family didn't really I don't want to say didn't care for him, but they weren't really there. Grandpa was the one that was really there for him. So as they're sitting there, they're gardening and they start talking about family and stuff like that. And then the guy whose birthday, the friend, he starts talking about how he misses grandpa and he gets sad. Now, the submitter personally never really met the grandpa, but he just always heard about grandpa. As they're sitting there, somebody walks across from the backyard and he kind of walks over to them, but the kids didn't say anything, and this is not his house. So he's like, well, this must be normal because they're not saying nothing, so I'm not going to say nothing. On top of that, I'm like, shit. I could barely even speak right now, so whatever. So the guy comes around and kind of just stands behind the birthday boy. The birthday boy is talking to them about how much he misses grandpa. The birthday boy doesn't really react to the guy standing behind him. And then the guy kind of just pets his head a little bit a couple times and then walks away. But after the guy pets his head, it's as if he got a little cheered up, right? So the submitter is kind of oh, okay, well, I guess he did know that guy because the guy touched him and he cheered up a little bit. They didn't really speak to each other. The whole interaction was about a 30-second interaction. So about 5 minutes later, he decides to tell the birthday boy hey, I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm glad that guy made you feel better. And the birthday boy's like, what guy? He's like, the older guy that came around, he was listening to us talking, and then he pet your head a little bit, and then that's when I could tell you started feeling better. Birthday boy looked at him, and all the other friends start dying, they start cracking up, laughing at him, saying, oh, this nigga tweaking, we gave him some good, he's like, what? I just saw the guy. He came, he touched you, you felt better, and he walked away. Now, they think that he's trying to troll them, so they don't really all right, man, yeah, whatever you say, and they start laughing. They think he's either tweaking or he's really just trying to troll them. He's in his head am I tweaking? Anyway, fast forward, they leave. They take the birthday boy home to drop him off, and then they're all about to go their separate ways. When they get to the birthday boy house, the submitter's like, hey, can I get some water? And birthday boy's like, yeah, come inside. Let me give you some water. And they get inside, he gets the water, and as he's drinking the water, he's looking at the pictures on the wall, and he sees the guy that he just saw outside. And he's like, see, I told you I wasn't tweaking. It was him. Like, he came and he rubbed your, he pet your head and you start feeling better. And the birthday boy got super serious and looked at him like, yo, like, are you dead ass trying to troll me? If you are, like, that's not even funny. He's like, no, bro, I'm trying to tell you. And so the birthday boy's like, that's my grandpa. That's the grandpa that passed away about a month ago. And they all just stood there with their jaws on the floor. And he swore to them like he was not lying. And that kind of cheered up the birthday boy just a little bit. Till this day, he doesn't really understand like what that meant. He doesn't understand why it happened. Why was he the one that saw it and nobody else did? So yeah, that's his story. Anyways, I am writing the ebook, y'all. I'm gonna make a physical version. That's why it's taking so long. It's gonna have natural remedies for women with PCOS, children with autism, ADHD, and just like everyday things like colds, fevers, even ear infections. I put a lot of work into this, y'all, and I really hope y'all like it. And I really hope y'all support it. Hey, Bestie. I wish there was a way that I could actually see what y'all be eating when I tell y'all to get y'all snacks. Even though I know y'all not getting snacks for real. Some of you guys might be getting snacks, but we know. We know it's a meal. Now, with that being said, I do have a story time for y'all, but can y'all believe that I started to get hate because I tell you guys to get snacks or meals? And when I joke around and call you guys big bags, apparently people take that personal. Not that I care. I'm still gonna do it. But there was one comment that was like, oh, you're cursing your followers. You're calling them big bags and you're calling them fat. And damn, just vibe, twin, just vibe. Anyways, let's go to the story. Let's call this person China. Now, just for a little background, China's parents are Haitian and Cuban. They were both born in Haiti, though. But, they both ended up coming here years ago separately. And then they met, got married, had kids, all that good stuff. And China's family was predominantly Christian. But throughout China's childhood, her dad wasn't Christian. He was actually a Mason, and not just a low-ranking level Mason, a very high one. Now, fast forward to when China was a teenager, her dad ended up accepting Christianity, and he converted, so he was kind of done with that stuff. A little further on in 2014, her dad ended up passing away. So a few days before the funeral, one of the ladies from their church pulled China's mom to the side and basically told her to spiritually release their father so that they can be able to renounce any kind of transfers that can happen. So that happens. The funeral goes on, Now fast forward to 2021. This is when the story takes place. Now at this point, it's been a couple years since, dad passed away. So China and her mom decided that they were going to sell the house. They had already made so many upgrades to the house before they sold it. They went through their dad's stuff and they gave away or threw out whatever needed to be gone. Throughout the search, they done found old prayer spell books, charms back from when, dad was into that stuff. And China's dad was also a very big reader, so he had thousands of books that they ended up having to get rid of. So one of these nights, China decided to do some extra cleaning to throw out, the stuff that's not going to go with her because they're selling the house. And then she comes across this little book, and it looks like it could be a Bible. It's completely black with black coverings. The zipper on the covering had a gold cross. Now, China know what a Bible looks like, and her house has a lot of Bibles, but this one was different. When she opened it up, she realized that in the corners of the pages, there's stars and moons. The pages of the Bible were white with red letterings. There were additional books of the Bible added to it, and the chapters where Jesus spoke, they were there, but they were in black, not red lettering. The more she looked into the book, she realized there were prayers in it, instructions, directions. And soon enough, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that it wasn't a regular Bible. And since her dad used to be, a Mason, this is a Masonic Bible. Weirdly enough, the little bit of time that she spent looking, through the Bible to figure out what this is, she started to feel very attached to this Bible. And it was so weird. And instantly, she already knew what was going on. So she instantly started praying. She took the Bible, she put it in a black bag, and she tossed it outside. She was like, y'all not gonna get me. And this all happened around 11 p.m. Now, her mom gets home around 12 a.m. and they chatted for a little bit and then her mom fell asleep. Now, according to China, her mom never falls asleep that early. It doesn't matter how tired she is. But for some reason, that night, she just felt so tired and she went to sleep. However, China couldn't sleep. She was up. She didn't know why she couldn't sleep, but she just couldn't sleep. So fast forward, it's like 2:30 in the morning now. And something just started feeling off in China's spirit. She felt very alert. Now, I should add that China is also very gifted. According to China, from a very young age, she was able to go to the spiritual world. Like, she saw demons. What am I saying? She saw demons. She saw angels. You get the point. She's very gifted. Turns out the reason why she was feeling attracted to that Bible at that moment was because she was supposed to take her dad's place in, the Mason business. However, she denied all that because she grew up Christian. She said she didn't want no part of that. She want to praise Jesus and that's it. But all in all, she's very spiritually gifted. So as she's sitting there with like this feeling, she's drinking some water and it's so quiet because it's 2:30 in the morning. All of a sudden, she hears her garbage can, the lid opening from outside. However, it's not like someone opened it, but it's more so like someone in the garbage can is trying to climb out. And she literally heard whatever it is climb out of the garbage can and then close the lid when they got out. Now, for the importance of the story, let me paint a better picture for you for like as far as the house. The house has like 2 levels, and on the bottom level is like the family room and a mini library. There's a back door that leads into that family room. And outside of that door is where they leave the garbage cans. Where she had found the Bible, the Mason Bible, it was in the mini library. And whatever just came out that garbage can is now at that door, twisting on the knob very loudly. And when they couldn't get through to the knob, they started to pound on the door. And it got to a point where when the pounding didn't work, it started hissing and growling and like kicking on the door. And this is happening, and she's aware because she's gifted. She's aware that this is something demonic. And she's looking at her mom. Her mom is still knocked out. And when that didn't work, it started to like claw on the wall, like crawl on the wall, begging to get inside, right? So whatever it is that was outside, they're desperately trying to get back inside. And I'm telling you, that thing was dedicated to trying to get into that house, and it was cement, so it was very loud. Now, at that moment, it's like enough is enough. So she started praying. China instantly just started praying and praying and praying. She prayed for about an hour. So this was going on for about a whole hour. And as she's praying, at exactly 3:30, she hears like this loud boom outside. And after the boom, she starts hearing like a fight broke out. And as the fight is going on, whatever that was like trying to claw its way inside is now, it's like they're being dragged back out. And now it's hissing and screaming. And as all of this is going on, she looks at her mom again, and her mom is knocked the fuck out. After that, everything pretty much stopped. It got all quiet again, and it was cool. So fast forward to the morning, something told her to check outside, because part of her is still like, did you imagine all of that last night? And when she got outside, guess what she saw? She saw scratches all over, as if like an animal was scratching. So that pretty much convinced her like, yeah, I was not crazy. Needless to say, that Bible went bye-bye very quick to the garbage man when they came. And they actually still end up living in the house till this day. And after that situation, she never really ever had any type of situation like that happen again. So yeah, that's pretty much the story. You may stop eating now. Anyways, I am doing another $100 giveaway. So go over to my Instagram to figure out how to enter and how to participate. If you need $100 or you know someone that needs $100, I'm just giving back to you guys because I love y'all oh so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed this story. Okay, bye. Snacks in hand, the vibe is set, and once I start, you won't forget. Don't eat too much because you gotta stay fun. But come on, bestie, it's story time. First and foremost, huge thank you to the ones that were worried about me. You guys came and commented and made sure I was doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm fine. I've just been working on a lot. If you're following my journey, please go follow me on Instagram. You'll get all the information there. Performed again, and I won second place, and now I have a live listening session with DJ Drewski. But that's not even the most exciting part. Your girl is coming out with not one, but 2 TV shows. That's right, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. One of the TV shows is gonna be about dancing because I'm a dancer. So if you're a dancer or you know a dancer in the Jersey, New York, and Philly area, I am holding auditions soon. But the other one is the one, the Scary Story TV show. I was so excited to tell you guys. Now I can finally say something. Anyway, I ain't gonna say too much though. I'll make a separate video about that. Let's get into the story though. As always, for the sake of the story, let's call him Jason. So Jason fell into the trap. Let me explain. Jason went to college and Jason met this girl. Let's call her Gabrielle. The moment he saw Gabrielle, he fell in love. Jason says it was literally love at first sight. Gabby was gorgeous. Everything about her, like body was tea. Her personality was lit. She was the one for him. And instantly, he went to try to talk to her. He got her number. They were vibing. Gabby was fucking with him too, because they started talking nonstop after that. All the way to the point where they got in a relationship, and they were going strong for about 2 years. And then Jason did something so messed up. Jason done cheated on Gabby. How is that the love of your life, but you're gonna cheat on her? I don't understand men. Anyway, he cheats on Gabby. Gabby finds out, breaks up with him, cut it off because she ain't playing no games. Jason is depressed for months, because you know how men think. To him, it's like, yeah, I cheated on you, but like, I don't really care about her. I care about you. Like, you supposed to be my wife. So Jason is not letting go. It was hard for Gabby to let go too, but she knew her worth. Anyway, after months and months and months of begging, Gabby agreed to go out on a date with him again. Now, this is coming from Jason. According to Jason, while they were on the date, the girl that he cheated on Gabby with texts him out of nowhere. He said that he had cut that girl off ever since Gabby found out about her. But for some reason that night, that's when the girl decided to text Jason. Now, this is Jason's words. Do I believe it? It's not up to me. Anyway, so obviously Gabby didn't like that. Like, that pissed Gabby off. But surprisingly, she was over it really fast. Jason thought like she was going to crash out on him, like never speak to him again. But that wasn't the case. That's when he should have known. Gabby acted like she was mad, and then she was okay. And then Gabby invited him over the following weekend so they can chill and talk about it and talk about their relationship and how things have to move slow this time if she is going to take the decision to, you know, take him back. And that's exactly what happens. They link up, Gabby cooks for him, and she makes spaghetti. Yeah. They had an amazing date. Like a little home date, you know? It was great. Jason went home, he was all smiles. He went to sleep. The next day, everything changed. Jason cannot stop thinking about Gabby. Everything he sees says Gabby. He recognized that at this point, he is obsessed with Gabby. And so the following day, she went like, somebody watching me. Anyway, the following day, he went to text her to try to link up. He finds out that he's blocked. He's like, what the hell? Why would I be blocked? Like, I just chilled with you yesterday. He's blocked on everything. And so he shows up to her house. And her mom is already at the door like, no, Gabby don't want to talk to you. It's over. It's done. It's done. It's done. Jason spends the following 2 years of his life obsessing over Gabby. And it wasn't until he found my page, he finally found out what that spaghetti was about. Because he didn't know about that. Like, he didn't know about that spiritual stuff, right? But Gabby is Caribbean, you know? I mean, she ended up having to get a restraining order against him. It was like how obsessed that he was. But Gabby had the plan. She just needed the platform. Jason is currently telling me this story from a whole different state because that's how bad it got. Like, he had to move states to get over her. And it wasn't until he found my page and he was just like, maybe that's a possibility that she did that to me. And he went and got help and it was confirmed. He had to get work done on him. He had to get a bath, like cleansing bath. He had to do a lot to get to the point where he is now. However, though, he says he's not mad at Gabby because he was in the wrong and she reacted the way that she should have because he threw away all 2 years of their relationship. So I guess this is Jason's way of spreading awareness to the guys. But if you do want to find out if you're having work done on you, or if you know you have work done on you or something, there's some kind of lingering energy, go get my ebook. The link is in my bio. It's called Cleansed and Covered. It's literally changing lives. The last thing I heard, it cleared up somebody's acne after years. That wasn't even my plan, but it happened. As much as I want to tell y'all all the good news and stuff like that that's going on in my life, TikTok is currently discriminating against me. I like that, but if I don't post anything story related, TikTok doesn't push it out. So if you want to keep being updated with my life and all the exciting things that I'm working on, please go follow me on Instagram. It's the same username as my TikTok. Or you can just go click the little Instagram icon in my bio. It'll send you straight through there. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Oh, also, my second page too. I'm going to be posting things like on there. Okay, I love you. Bye. Snacks in hand, the vibe is set, and once I start, don't eat too much because you gotta stay fun. But come on, bestie, it's story time. Hello, my besties, my babies, my lovelies. I hope I wasn't starving y'all too much, but it's okay because you get to eat now. So go ahead, go get your snack. And make sure you show it to me in the comments too. I want to know what y'all eating. First and foremost, I told you guys about my TV show. For those that want to do it, go on my Instagram. Just follow me on Instagram and you'll find out all the information. I'll be trying not to make the intros too long because I know y'all want the stories, but okay, let me just tell y'all. So for the sake of this story, let's call him Jackson. So this story is kind of crazy because till this day, he doesn't have an explanation for what happened. I don't know what just happened. Anyway, so Jackson gets home from work and he's going about his business like usual. He eats dinner, he watches a little TV, he gets some work done, and he's getting ready for bed. And so he takes his shower, he does his night routine, and he goes to bed and he goes to sleep. So as he's sleeping, he suddenly just wakes up in the middle of the night, his eyes just open. He doesn't know why he woke up, but he woke up. And when he looked at the time, it was 3:23 in the morning. And so he's like, damn, I need to sleep. I got to wake up early for work tomorrow. So he goes to turn over and try to go back to sleep. And so once he turns over, he sees a figure standing at his door, his room door. He freezes. He's like, what the hell? As he's looking at the figure walked towards him. Once the figure get closer, it's a lady. And she doesn't look as scary as she looked 2 seconds ago when it was just like all black and he couldn't see her face. And the lady said, come with me. And what do we call him, Jackson? Jackson is like, no, I'm not coming with you. So the lady reaches her hand out and she says, trust me, come with me. And Jackson is like, I think I am going to come with you, actually. He doesn't know why, but for some reason, he just trusted her. And so he took her hand and they walked through his living room, out his apartment building, outside onto the street. It feels like they're walking really fast because it's like they're getting fast. They're getting somewhere really fast. So, for example, walking from his apartment building down the elevator to the street that they went would have probably took about 10 minutes, but it happened under 2. So she brings him to a tree far from his house. Not too far, but it was pretty far from his house. And the tree was huge. So she brings him in front of the tree. She says to him, the answer to all your questions is right here. And she points in front of the tree. And he had driven by this, part of town all the time. And he sees the tree all the time. But he never really thought he don't really care about the tree. And she reaches up to the top of the tree. It's like she got long. Y'all remember Elastigirl? It's like she got long like Elastigirl. Reaches up to the top of the tree, gets a fruit, gives it to him and tell him to eat it. He's looking at the fruit. He's never seen that kind of fruit before. It's not a fruit that exists, but it's there. Even driving past the tree, he never saw that tree for having fruits. So he's like, I don't think I want to take a bite of that fruit. And the lady's like, take a bite of the fruit. And for some reason, he just obeyed. He doesn't know why he's doing it, but he did it. He took the fruit and he took a bite. The moment he took a bite, he woke up. Exactly, like he woke up, except when he woke up, he was still in the same spot and it was daylight. He's still in front of that tree, far from his house, in his pajamas, and he's just standing there super confused, like OD confused. So he's like, what the hell just happened? So he calls the cops. The cops comes and get him. He goes to the hospital, the whole shebang. And he's trying to tell the doctors, and the doctors are looking at him very crazy. They're trying to say that he had a psychotic, not break, not that it was bad, but they tried to tell him that he basically was sleepwalking, right? And so at this point, he's convinced he's sleepwalking. His family comes to the hospital and, they agree that he was sleepwalking, right? Because he'd been stressed lately, so he figured he probably sleptwalked. Dream was very weird, but whatever. And so he gets home, he gets, what's the name? He gets discharged from the hospital the same day and he gets home, but he has a Ring camera on his door. So he wanted to see so he could show the cops, and his family and stuff, how did he sleepwalk? Except when he checked his Ring camera, he never came out the house. The entire night, the Ring never didn't have any footage of him coming out the house. However, around 3:40, I had to go back to the story and check, but it was 3:30, not 40. Around 3:30, his front door did open, but nobody came out. His front door opened and closed back. And if you remember, when he woke up, it was 3:23, and he tried to go back to sleep. Till this day, he doesn't know how to explain that. He doesn't know, it still baffles him, because till this day, people are still saying, oh, you probably slept walk, you probably crawled under the door or something, but he knows what he saw. The Ring camera captured everything, but never did it show him walking out the house. Anyways, that's the story, y'all. If you want to protect yourself from things like that, I have a book. It's called Cleansed and Covered. Listen, look at the reviews for yourself. People are saying their lives are changing over that book. So make sure you go to my bio, get that book. If you're interested in auditioning for my show and you're in New Jersey, click the link in my bio. And make sure you follow me on Instagram for updates. I love you guys. Okay, bye.
So I got an email from somebody who said that they think that they met the devil, and the devil wanted them to sign a contract with him or make a deal with them, and he did not do it, and he suffered the consequences for it. So Caleb and his family are Mexican, and they are very spiritual, and they believe in God. On the contrary, he likes to mess around with astrology and tarot. He often does readings for people to connect them with the spirit world as well. So at the time of the incident, he was 24 years old, and he was a nurse, and he was working at an assisted living facility. Coupled with his spiritual abilities, he also can astral project. He believes that we live in a spiritual world that doubles as a dream world. So one day, Caleb is dreaming of walking around his workplace, and he's just checking on residents, walking around, when he realizes that things are a little bit too realistic, right? So he starts to think, okay, I'm astral projecting at this point. So he's like, I'm gonna go home. So he's walking through the lobby because he's getting ready to go home when he sees this man sitting at a table that's right by the door, and he said that this man was pretty attractive. It was somebody that he would normally be attracted to. He said if you could think of anybody that he would look like, it would be Nicholas Hoult. The man was wearing all black. He had very dark features. He didn't give off bad vibes. In fact, his energy was very calm and inviting. So as soon as the man notices that Caleb is looking at him, the man speaks, and he's expecting his voice to sound very seductive. And in fact, it doesn't. It's very matter of fact. And he just very matter of factly asks him, do you never want to be sick again? And Caleb is a little taken back by this question because Caleb has an immune disease that's pretty bad, and he is sick. He's feeling sick often. So Caleb instinctively says yes, because he doesn't want to feel sick anymore. But this is where it gets weird. The man says, you need to do 3 things for me, and you need to do it in a total of 3 days, 1 thing per day. And then he tells Caleb each of these days has a special name, and he writes down the name of the days, but the names aren't in English, so he can't understand what they say. Now Caleb says that he wishes that he remembers the entire interaction, but he actually doesn't remember the whole interaction. The only thing that he does remember is on the 3rd day, he needed to take raw clay, needed to be from the earth. Then he was supposed to cut both of his hands open and then knead the clay with his hands bleeding so that the clay and the blood mixed together. And then he wanted him to sculpt something, and it was a figure of a man that he wanted him to sculpt. Now, Caleb says that he doesn't remember what he was supposed to do with that figure after he sculpted it, and he thinks that it was probably for good reason that he doesn't remember. Caleb remains silent as this person is explaining this entire process to him, and he doesn't remember anything that he said except for the clay thing and then the last thing that he said. And the last thing that he said was, you want this, Caleb, you need to do me one favor. I need you to remember everything I just told you when you wake up. After that, he wakes up immediately. It was like that instantly snapped him back into reality. So he's sitting there trying to think of everything that this man just said to him, and he can't remember absolutely anything. He remembers everything about the astral projection except for the ritual part. Caleb at this point is like, it's probably a good thing that I don't remember, but then he's also wondering, was that the devil that I just met? Because he didn't seem scary at all, but I knew something wasn't right with him. Like, he just had this feeling like something wasn't right with him, and he thinks that he was using his magical tools against him, meaning like the tarot and astrology that he does. Now, the things that happened in the years afterwards would be quite eerie, and he never connected the dots until recently. Now, the dream happened in 2020, and the dream happened right before things got really bad in the world. So after he has this dream, COVID happens, and that's what I mean by everything bad happening in the world. And because he worked as a nurse, he was around sick people all the time, and he was his mother's caretaker, and his mother was sick, okay? So he comes home one day, and he gives her COVID on accident, obviously. And unfortunately, she ends up passing away from him contracting COVID and her her getting it. So the guilt that he felt was immense, as you can imagine. By the way, that was not your fault, Caleb. Now, at this time, he's still dealing with immune issues, and he's also dealing with chronic sleep paralysis. And in these sleep paralysis incidences, he sees this man, and the man is either standing in the corner of his room or standing next to his bed. And he starts to speak to him, and he remembers one thing that he said to him was, "Can we switch places?" Now, obviously, he can't answer him because he can't move or speak, and he's obviously terrified, so he doesn't answer him, but that was the last time that he actually saw that man. After that, black shadows of tall men would creep around his bed at night. They would either be watching him from a distance or crouching right in front of his face. He says that even at one point, he thinks that he saw the Hat Man, but the Hat Man just kind of like peeked into his room, almost like if he were to check on the other shadows that were watching over him, kind of like if he was maybe in control of the other shadows. And he said that when he would see the shadows would either be really far away or they would be kind of close, but they were never in like arm's reach, or they could never touch him until recently. Now, this part really creeped me out. In July of 2024, he's sleeping on the chaise side of his couch, and he starts to get sleep paralysis, and he cannot move and he cannot speak. And most of the time when this happens, he can kind of calm himself down. He remains calm because he's pretty desensitized to it at this point, but he said that this time he absolutely could not remain calm. He says that he sees this abnormally tall, skinny figure, and it has a really long, skinny arm and long, skinny fingers, and it reaches his arm over the chaise. He said that it looked like a dying tree branch. And then he said that it just reached his hand down and caressed his face like this. And he said there was no denying that thing was there, and it touched him. He felt it. And he said in this deep, whispery voice, it sighed and then said, "Ah, finally." Almost as if it was saying, like, we've been watching you and we've been wanting to touch you, and I'm finally touching you now, and that it was doing something to him. Like, it was manifesting something. And he would be correct in that assumption because he wakes up screaming. He just, as soon as this happens, just jumps out of bed and is screaming hysterically. He's terrified. And he said the very next day he received results from his doctor that he had a devastating autoimmune disease and that he would never be okay ever again. He would always feel sick for the rest of his life. He said that although he's okay now, he's managing his life with medications, he can't help but wonder if this had anything to do with the devil. He thinks that that entity that touched his face was the same man that he saw in his dreams coming back to him, knowing that he would be sick all these years later and making him sick because he did not sign that contract or fulfill the contract. So what do you guys think of this story? Do you think that that was the devil, or do you think this was just a major coincidence? Do you think that that was the same entity that he saw in his dream coming back to him that was touching his face, and maybe that was his true form? Or do you think that this was a demon? What do you think this was? Because he couldn't remember when he woke up all the things that he was supposed to do, which it's funny that the man said to him, make sure you remember this. It's almost like his subconscious was telling him, no, you cannot remember this, just in case he was going to do it, which he said, by the way, that he would never do that. And what I am saying right now is also what he said. Anytime that I get a story that is like someone is making a deal with the devil or having to do with some type of deal, the devil never looks scary, ever. It's always a very attractive man that looks very put together, like that story with Jack. Like the devil, if that was the devil that he saw in Mississippi, he looked like a stockbroker. That's what Jack said. And he kind of described the same type of vibe with this man. So I find that to be really interesting. But I've never heard a story before where somebody did not take a deal with the devil and then suffered consequences for it. This would be the first time that I've ever heard that. So what do you guys think of that? And what do you think of the rest of the story? Drop all your thoughts, opinions, suggestions in the comments, please. And as always, please be respectful. And with that being said, I'm not going to do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. My first shout out is going to Rose's granddaughter, Harley. Your grandma cleans my house for me, and I absolutely adore her. And I love the fact that she came to me today and told me that you love my stories. Thank you so much. You are so brave for watching my stories. She told me that you are 7 years old. That is brave. Be careful of the stories that you are watching because they can be very scary, as you know. But I'm glad that you like the stories. That means so much to me. So thank you so much. I loved that today. It made my whole entire day. And I hope to see you in my comments. You can leave a comment and I always respond. So thank you so much, girly. I love you. My next shout out is going to Whiskey Whiskers. You are so sweet and you left the nicest comment. You said that you search out my stories every single day and that they help you to have a better day. That means so much to me. Thank you so much for searching me out every day. I appreciate that more than you know because sometimes TikTok restricts my content. Like they're doing it right now. In fact, I was even going to take a break for 3 days because of it, but whatever. So I appreciate it when people do that so much. Thank you. The support is unwavering, and I hope you know how much I appreciate you, and I appreciate your kindness and your support and that you're part of my community. Just thank you. From the bottom of my heart, you are the best, and I love you. One last thing, you guys, tell me if you like it when I do stories better like this, or when I'm sitting in my chair and there's like a background behind me, or do you like it when it's more organic like this? Let me know, because I was tired today, so I thought I'd sit here and was just curious of what you guys thought. But with that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every single night that you guys submit to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button. And I just need you to do 3 things for me. And one of those, keep sending me your scary stories. Have a safe night. What's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
Okay, so this person said that they knew they had no business doing a love spell. However, they were desperate. She said, I did a love spell on my husband and his mother took him back. I am back with another spooky story. If you say anything about my edges, you're definitely anti-black. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Amara. Amara says, I never thought I'd write something like this, but I need someone to believe me. Amara is from Lagos, Nigeria. 4 years ago, Amara married into money. Her husband, we're gonna call him Chike. Chike comes from one of those old families with a big house. The house almost looks like a museum. Marble floors, artwork, and they even had servants. Amara said that when they first met, Chike wasn't like the rest of his family. He was kind, warm. He used to sneak away from his family's big gatherings just so he could talk to her in the garden. He told Amara that she made him feel normal. Well, those two married very quickly. They married 6 months after meeting. And Amara says from the day she walked into that mansion, she could just feel her husband's mother's eyes on her. We're gonna call Chike's mom Madam Ozioma. So Madam Ozioma did not like Amara at all. And Amara could feel that from day one. The thing is too, the staff would also talk about Madam Ozioma. She is a woman of power, you don't mess with her. She didn't wear charms or beads, but people basically cleared the way when she walked through. So at first, Amara brushed it off, thinking that the mom is just gonna like her eventually. However, over time, Chike started to change. He would come home distracted, acting distant. He would forget little things, like her birthday and plans that they've made together. His mother's disapproval became louder, even though she never said anything to Amara. She just had this passive-aggressive nature to her. Every time Amara would walk past, she would whisper things under her breath. So after their 2-year anniversary, Amara at this point begins to panic. She just felt her man slipping away. That's when she remembered her old neighbor. We're gonna call her Mama Fioma. She was a market woman who was known for her prayers to work. Amara said she hadn't seen her in years, but desperations make you do some strange things. But one Saturday morning, she drove down to, I'm sorry if I butcher this, Balogun Market, found Mama Fiona. She told Mama Fiona that she needed something to strengthen her marriage. Mama Fiona looked at her for a long time before she finally said, love should not be forced, but if fear is what drives you, this should ease your mind. He gave her a small clay jar wrapped in red thread and said that it contained binding ashes, just to pinch in the husband's tea. He will love her again like he did on the first day. Amara went home shaking. And that night, she did it. He drank the tea, smiled, and kissed her. He told Amara that she was his world. And for a few weeks, everything felt perfect again. Now, this story actually does go on to traumatize me, actually. Amara says that it was so bad that she wishes till this day that she had never done this, because it was clear that she had messed with the wrong people. She did not know how powerful Chike's mother was. If you want to hear about her torment, you're gonna have to leave a comment for part 2. And make sure you follow me for spooky content. This video is getting way too long, but like I say at the end of every single video, I love you, my abducted humans, from your absolute favorite Haitian homegirl. And also, maybe just don't do love spells on people. I really hope that helps.
I've encountered black-eyed children. If my voice sounds so different, I am having the worst allergies. This eye is like crazy. This ear keeps popping. I keep waking up with this side of my head just hurting so bad. And all I'm doing is using a nasal spray because I have no idea what else to fucking use. So if you know what I should do, please let me know. But I'll take all of this to have never encountered black-eyed children. What the fuck? So I did ask you guys what kind of videos I should make this week because I was drawing a blank and somebody said black-eyed kids and I'm like, I'm so scared of talking about black-eyed children, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna do it for you guys because the stories are really interesting, but they scare me so much. Also, the first ever black-eyed kid encounter was in Texas. Thankfully not where I'm from, but still a little too close to home. I believe I encountered the black-eyed children over a decade ago in rural Appalachia. Now I'm just gonna pause it right there because the only Appalachian stories that I hear are from Morgan. Like, I started following Morgan a while back, and let me just tell you that when I see some of her videos, I understand how you guys feel when you watch mine and get scared, because her videos scare me so much. If you have not watched them, please go check them out. She has videos of things like mimicking her living near the Appalachian Mountains, and when I first started reading like the first part of this black-eyed kid story, I'm like, black-eyed kids now. I really hope she does not experience this, but I got scared. Yeah, I got scared. Anyways, if you guys want to hear more about living near the Appalachian Mountains, or like, she has captured videos as well, please go check her out and go follow her. Anyway, shout out to Morgan for scaring the fuck out of me. I believe I encountered the black-eyed children over a decade ago in rural Appalachia. This has always low-key disturbed me. Keeping in touch to this day, we've never brought it up again. We were at a local skate park sort of place between 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. I remember we were parked alongside the woods and some picnic tables. It was pretty desolate. We were technically trespassing, 17 female and 17 male at the time, and what we were doing there you can leave to your imagination. What was 17-year-old Letty doing at that time? Reading books. Reading books. As our curfews were approaching and we were finishing up our time together, we experienced a very ominous feeling. He was in the driver's seat preparing to start the car and pull off. The car doesn't start. We sort of laughed it off as it wasn't the first time and talked. Suddenly, to the right passenger side where I was sitting, we see faint lights coming out of the woods. The ominous feeling intensified. Emerging from the woods are 4 to 5 children younger than us, like appearing to be 7 to 11 years old. I'm not going to claim they had black eyes. It was dark and I don't remember, as I was pretty shook. I didn't read about the black-eyed children lore phenomenon until years later, which described everything else that we experienced. All I can say is they were not normal. They didn't belong. The cabins at the park were not occupied. They weren't even getting rented out as it was autumn winter. We were miles from the park's hotel. There were no adults. They were absolutely out of place. What were the lights? I don't know, but the closest thing I can compare them to are glow sticks, as if they had opened a package of those novelty glow sticks that include bracelets, necklaces, or wands. But it wasn't like they were having fun or goofing off. They were just stopped, stood there, and stared at us. He tried asking what they were doing here, if they were lost, where are their parents? No response. The oldest looking male child, a bit heavy set with a gray hoodie on, approached the vehicle just in the front where the passenger's headlight corner would be. My friend started really freaking out at this moment. He locked the doors and was like, hell no, we gotta go. Eventually the car starts. The children don't move and the kid stays put in front of the car. My friend eventually yells at the kid, I'm going to run you over. The boy slowly backs away, raising his arm and points at us as we were leaving. I didn't look back. I'm absolutely not making this up. To my recollection, this is a true story. And then somebody had left a comment on the post and said, not surprised you saw something like this in the Appalachia. My grandmother grew up in the Roanoke Valley. She was not at all superstitious, but every once in a while she'd have a drink or two and open up about stuff she'd seen in her youth. Those woods are old and you do not go wandering around at night. I don't know why this topic like truly scares me, and I've heard so many stories, so many of them that like try to come into your home, and obviously if they succeed, those stories are not going around, right? Because there's none, but there's so many of people who like get a knock on their door and they feel like they need to open that door, and when they start open the door, then they get scared and, you know, they react and close the door again. But it's so fucking crazy. It's so strange. Please do not come knocking on my door. Thank you. But what do you guys think?